this whole Web3 world, man. The people gotta stay tuned, so we gotta keep them in tune. You know what I'm saying? So
Keep them in tune. Here
yeah,
on episode 29 of the Block to Block podcast, the best podcast in the world for all things Web3. Here we break down the technology, what's going on in the market, and the ways in which you can benefit. I
yeah.
am NFT and Jai,
And I am Web3 Wayne.
and over here, the talk is different.
Always stays different. So much so, I know y'all was ready for this. That if you lose your money because you took this as financial advice, even though right now I'm telling you this is not financial advice, that's on you. So if you lose your cheese, cheddar, mozzarella, provolone, just remember that we told you to consult a financial advisor or any other financial professional that can help you to manage your money and make sure that you don't lose your money. And with that, we are going to start our informational only podcast right about now. Let's get into it.
Mm, don't lose your money. Actually, I believe there's a Warren Buffett quote when he says, the first rule of investing is not to lose your money. And the second rule is refer back to rule number one. So,
Hey, the man is smart. The man is smart. And it's probably because he believes in Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. You never go
mhm,
wrong. You never go wrong.
you can never go wrong. But man, super excited this week because there's been a lot of interesting stories within Web3. Super interesting. So interesting that we want to start off with the technology aspect of the show and talk about one of our favorite platforms to speak about, Ethereum. Ethereum has recently launched their ERC-4337 protocol onto their main network. And what this protocol focuses on is called like the account abstraction or the smart accounts protocol. And the purpose of it is to help increase and enhance the user experience when it comes to interacting on the Ethereum blockchain. Specifically, as we look at things such as creating these crypto wallets and interacting with these dApps or decentralized applications. Because as we currently know, right, Web3 is very innovative. It has so many different solutions that can help solve for. However, it is not easy right now to use, right? Oftentimes, if you're interested in getting started with collecting cryptocurrencies, NFTs, what have you, to really get started in the world of Web3, you need your crypto wallet or your Web3 wallet, whatever you want to call it. And as of how it exists right now, is you will have to, go to a provider like a Coinbase or a MetaMask or who have you, a wallet provider, and create this wallet online. You will have to like get the seed phrase, which is like usually like 12 words of random words as your phrase to unlock your wallet. And there's no password recovery, right? It's very, and in addition to that, you have to like save like your private keys and make sure nobody has access to those as well. It's a lot of convoluted technical steps, which is not easy at all, and quite frankly, very annoying. You have to like a lot of times with like even copying down these 12-word phrases or these seed phrases, you can't even screenshot it if you're doing it on your phone. You have to get a piece of paper, write it down, put it in a safe. Not user friendly at all. But that's what this new protocol 4337 is solving for. It's rolling out a lot of features that makes it easier for a person to get set up with a wallet and to interact on this blockchain. So there are features such as instead of having to remember a seed phrase or writing it down somewhere, you can have two-factor authentication or biometric authentication. So like think of your face IDs or your thumbprint when you want to unlock your iPhone. That's the biometric aspect. So you have the ability to log in a way that's and access your account in a way that's what we're used to today with those two different systems. Another key thing is we are now getting to the point where you can recover your private keys. So going back to what we said, the old way is with like these crypto wallets. If you lose your seed phrase, there's no way in which you can access your non-custodial wallet, right? It's kind of like a SOL. You're out of luck when it comes to accessing it. Even like the companies, when you're dealing with like a non-custodial wallet, they themselves would say, we don't have a password, we don't have a way for you to access your crypto wallet anymore. However, with this new protocol with 4337, what we see is they have a social recovery system which will allow you to recover your private key. And how they do this is by having group access wallets. Meaning, if you lose access, you can reach out to a designated guardian group, if you will, who or accounts who can help you retrieve access back to your wallet. So a lot of cool features in terms of accessing and recovering access to your wallets. The Some other really dope features being helping you in terms of like how you spend your crypto within the space. So now you can have like you can allow for like monthly subscriptions to be taken out of your crypto wallet, similar to let's say when you subscribe to a platform like an Amazon or a Netflix, you may just put on that auto pay and it automatically takes the funds from your account to pay for your service. Now you can do the same thing with this new protocol. You can also use these dApps without having to spend gas fees. So that's another thing that's been like really a huge barrier within this world of Web3 is a lot of times you can have to pay gas fees. You can think of these as like transaction fees, if you will, or to do transactions on the blockchain, right? Whether that's sending something, playing a Web3 game, or what have you. But now the user is no longer paying these gas fees up front. That's taken care of in the back end. And it's just so many different features that are allowing users to have just a better, more normal experience that we're accustomed to right now when it comes to Web 2. Some other dope things as well about this smart account protocol is that it's available on any Ethereum virtual machine compatible chain, right? So we're thinking about your layer 2 chains like your Polygon, your BNB smart chain, your Avalanche. All of these chains are compatible with this new protocol. So within the Polygon ecosystem, all those benefits that we just talked about, you can enjoy them there as well. And so it's just really a great innovation in terms of the Ethereum network. And there's so much more to come down the pipe with Ethereum. Because the big thing right now is the Shanghai upgrade, which is poised to happen in April, which will allow validators to withdraw their staked ETH, right? Which we talked about in previous episodes about like how Ethereum is using a proof of stake consensus model. And like right now, they're not able to withdraw their Ethereum, which is the crypto, from this protocol. So that's happening. But while everybody's really interested in the Shanghai update, we cannot undermine the impact that ERC-4337 is going to have within this blockchain. We're finally getting to a point, Derek, in which Web3 is becoming a lot more accessible. And this can really help a lot in terms of like the mass adoption of Web2 users.
Absolutely. The name of the game, I feel like, for 2023 and beyond, now that we've entered this crypto winter, one that seems to be, very defining for Web3. The name of the game now is scalability,
Hmm.
right? What we're moving past the day and age of crypto natives just, being the end all be all for Web3 and its activity. Right now, we are in a space where, for Web3, for crypto, for NFT, Web3 gaming, whatever you want to um, be involved in, right? Especially from the business side or even from the consumer side, we're moving past the point where everything is, hey, this is this cool new technology. The reason you want to use it is because it's cool new technology, right? There's obviously, like, from the technical aspects, reason why, right? But now we're moving into how can we onboard everyone else, right?
Yep.
And I think that's really what the focus is with this ERC 4337. That's what's so exciting about it, is that those businesses, those companies that haven't, yet ventured into the Web3 world, now you're seeing some of the uh, framework, right? Some of the structure being built to help get not only, those business owners, but their customers to step into this world and make it a little bit easier for them to step into this world. I think one thing that's going to be super huge that you talked about, outside, of course, the account recovery, is the gasless transactions. And I'm sure, possibly if if you're watching this, you're like, how does this gasless transaction thing work, right? So they're just taking the fees away, they're just taking the gas fees away. Well, they're not, right? What they're doing is allowing for the the businesses, if you will, right, the creators of the NFTs or the creators of the crypto to sponsor those gas fees. So they'll pay the gas fees and not the buyer, right? By default, making the price of the NFT seem lower, right? You don't have to
Mm.
pay essentially the same thing as those companies that don't charge you tax, right? But they mark up the price $3, $4, basically saying we know what the tax is going to be. We'll just charge you an even number that will account for that tax and collect the little bit extra that we'll get on the profit side from that, right? Or the
Right.
income side. So I think it's big. It just allows for more creative things from a business standpoint, which is really huge. Um, I think we're really going to see this become the norm here on out, right? The norm is how can we make things easier, friendlier for the users? How can we focus on this user experience? If you're in tech, I'm sure you hear user friendly a lot, user experience a lot, UI UX a lot, right? If you are in business, I'm sure you've probably heard of like user centered design, right? All of these things are integral to tech companies and are concepts that are often discussed because without your users, you're nothing. So this is exciting, man. ERC-4337 came out of the blue, and
Hmm.
they gave us something great. They gave us something great. I'm excited for this one.
Absolutely. A great story, great innovation. And it's very important just to see how we're making Web3 more accessible to our users. And with that, there's a story you want to cover, Mr. Web3 Wayne,
Yes,
about user
yes,
accessibility.
yes, yes. I'm excited about this, man, because I think when we think of Web3, we definitely think of it in some cases on the international scale, but I feel like very rarely have we talked about it, within Africa, within that continent's, perspective and their users' needs. So this story is very interesting. We want to bring to you guys, and I want to kind of talk about. So the story is the Cassava Network partners with self custody wallet to broaden the crypto adoption in Africa. Okay.
Mm,
We like I said, the theme right now is scalability. And
mm.
maybe that's, it could also be adoption and adaptability or user
Scalability and
usability.
accessibility is the
There we go.
capability.
Of the demonstrability.
Mm,
Uh, so the Cassava Network has did a product launch to allow Africa's Web2 users to get onboarded to Web3 while earning rewards and increasing their income. Really important here. Cassava Network is an African Web3 platform focused on NFTs, gaming, and loyalty rewards. So they had launched version 3 of their platform, which which has an integration with Unipass, the non-custodial wallet that they've partnered with. Right. So the users are able to use their email addresses to create their wallets instead of dealing with the traditional seed phrases and gas fees that we've seen in the past, like we talked about in the previous ERC 4337 discussion that we had. Those things are not needed for these wallets, right? Making it really easy for the users to get an account, if you will, get their Web3 wallet, and really step into this world of NFTs, Web3 gaming, and just really experiencing what this industry has to offer. So now
Mhm.
users can send and receive on-chain digital assets across multiple Ethereum virtual machine blockchains, like we mentioned before. That includes your Polygons, your Avalanche, um, right, and many more of those blockchains that uses the EVM. So the co-founder Maluku Sano said with Cassava V3, we have made it easy for African users to interact with their favorite Web2 and Web3 brands. As users interact with these brands, they earn both CB coins and other on chain rewards specified by partners, right? And this is important because they're also making it easier for these Web2 brands to, offer more things to their users, right? And
Mm.
that's the big opportunity when it comes to Web3 is that there's really, this expansion of offerings for your community, right? For your customer. And I say community because that's really been the theme of what's been forefront is it's felt more of a community than just customers. But that is because of the ability to offer really expansive, products, which I feel like has really helped businesses that have, said, let me take this leap into Web3 and see what I can do creatively from that point. And so CB coins, I know you just heard me mention that, so just want to dig into that a little bit. So the CB coins is the reward token for the network. It actually exists off chain at the moment, but in the future, the users will be able to swap them for on chain assets as well. So those CB coins then can be used to purchase concert tickets and mystery boxes on the platform as well. So definitely be on the lookout. Cassava Network, that's something they have very special cooking up over there. In a market that I feel like oftentimes is overlooked, but is definitely prime for Web3 adoption. We all know some of the challenges that countries within Africa face. And so, there's a big opportunity for, users of Web3, those companies, within the continent to really come in and use this new technology to transform, how they deliver their business and their product to their customers, to their consumers, in a more stable way, in a more creative way, and of course, in a more innovative way. And that's what it's all about. So, with that, that is the second topic of the day, the Cassava Network.
So
Mamadou, what's your thoughts? NFT and Jai, excuse me.
right. Man, I think it's very great in terms of one, on a more global perspective. We just always talk about like how do we onboard Web2 users to Web3, right? And
Yep.
really the key is accessibility and making it easy, making it simple. As we mentioned with the previous story with the ERC-4337, nobody has the time to be getting out a sheet of paper to write down some secret seed phrase or password phrase, and then there's no password recovery access, or you got to be all concerned about this nerd language of private keys, public keys, and all this hoo ha. Who Nobody has the time for that. Like you have to be very invested and a huge tech enthusiast to, or a super early adopter to, get along with that.
Yeah.
And what's important is, as we look at global markets such as Africa, which is, if you don't know, now you know, like Africa is the future in terms of the next frontier from a technological and business opportunity, right? And it's great to see an African owned Web3 startup really pave the way in terms of assuring that this technology is becoming a lot more accessible, right? It's very
Yeah.
brilliant. Hey, instead of using some off like third party non-custodial wallet service, you're just going in platform, using your email address, and voila, you have your wallet right there. Super
Yep.
simple, very easy to use, and you don't have to worry about all the technical in the back end, right? And in terms of just how it relates to the continent as a whole, Africa, when it comes to the global landscape, there's like a huge fight for who's going to be very prominent in Africa's next wave of development when it comes to technology, business, what have you. And in
Yep.
terms of the Web3 game, we've seen this with Cardano, which is one of the most prominent blockchain networks, right? The founder is one of the co-founders of Ethereum, and they have a whole Africa strategy in which they want to be the blockchain that is that has mass adoption and usage throughout the entire continent. And we're talking about from like the governmental side, public side, and what have you. So when it comes to this Web3 game, it's very critical to pay attention to these global markets such as Africa, Europe, Middle East. Like in previous episodes, we talked about the investment that is being happening in Abu Dhabi, where they just created like a $2 billion fund for Web3 ventures. On a global scale, this technology is really being looked at. And so it would behoove us to pay attention to what's going on and see how can we get involved from even if it's like on a micro level. So great
Yeah.
story, Web3 Wayne. I really enjoyed it. Super interested in what continues to happen within the continent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you made a great point. Even if, right now we'll talk a little bit about this dust that is unsettling, but once the dust settles, right, you want to at least, you know, being it be able to kind of look within that dusk and say, I see the outlines of, the building, where we need to be going so that we can get to the next safety spot, right? The next
Hmm.
um, spot that's gonna springboard us, and kind of keep us going down this road, down this path. So you made a great point there, and I think with that, this is one of those days where we may be giving Ethereum a lot of love.
Mm.
So NFT and Jai, I know you wanted to give us a story. Feel like we've talked about Ethereum a good bit today, but seems like the theme of the show. I don't know. What
Listen,
what you got for us?
if you want the ability to be featured on the Block to Block podcast, the best podcast in the world for all things Web3, you need to be doing exceptional, noteworthy things, right? So that's what happened with Vitalik Buterin, who is one of the co founders of Ethereum. He has dumped $700,000 worth of meme coins a few days ago, and the impacts has been instrumental. So, before I get into the story, once again, just a couple of things. We don't give financial advice. That's really clear in the disclaimer we're giving the show, but we do like to talk about like what's happening in the market just so you as the viewer can get some sort of insight and kind of learn from the happenings of others, right? So definitely show us some love, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your loved ones. If you're listening on audio, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or any other major audio platform, please give us that 5-star review and share out with your loved ones as well. But back to Vitalik. So he has sold off $500 trillion of the Sheik token, and this happened a couple of days ago. $500 trillion tokens, right? Trillion units. A lot. I'm stumbling over the words because of how many tokens there were. And once he dumped off this large volume of tokens, the overall project value fell by 77% in 25 minutes. So
What?
the amount of time it would take you to watch an anime episode shout out to My Hero Academia. The 77, almost 80% of this token value has dropped just because he
Wow.
dumped off or he sold all of his holdings. And so before we even get into that, let's like really take a look back. So, Vitalik is a very instrumental figure in the world of Web3. He's definitely a legend, very intelligent individual who helped co-found Ethereum, right? And because of his status, a lot of these different projects, like crypto projects, NFT projects, what have you, they'll usually give him a substantial chunk of their project supply. And oftentimes the belief on their end is, okay, well, if we give Vitalik, let's say, for example, 40% of our project supply, there's no way he's just going to sell it off, right? He's not going to sell off these tokens. However, Vitalik or Mr. Buterin has proven otherwise. Last year, for example, he offloaded $1 billion worth of Shiba Inu tokens, which caused the value of that project to drop by 44% in 24 hours. But he did do it for a good cause, right? He sold off all those tokens because he wanted to donate to a fund to support India during the pandemic. But yeah, he's not here to play, man. So Peck Shield, which is a cybersecurity expert, they've been monitoring his wallet when they saw the huge transaction of the 500 trillion Koku tokens being sold off, and in doing so, he liquidated his position and gained 380 ETH's worth of value, or $590,000 is what he really accumulated from that project, because each token is a fraction of a cent, right? So by selling his entire position, he had over 590K of cash that he was able to get from that whole transaction. And to be fair, when it comes to his actions, he has publicly stated, for anyone making coins or DAOs or whatever else in the future, in all caps, please do not give me coins or power in your project without my consent. I don't want to be a locus of power of that kind. Better just print the coins into the hands of a worthy charity directly, though do talk to them first. He's really made his stance of he doesn't want to be a significant like holder of like your project tokens, right? Like, okay, he gets it. Everybody loves him. He's one of the goats, Mount Rushmore, what have you, right? But don't give him a huge supply of your token. It is a mistake, because if he decides to sell it all off, that's effectively devaluing your project's value, right? We see it all the time where you have like in the more traditional stock sense, right? You have like these giant companies, when the huge corporate execs start selling off millions of dollars worth of shares of the company, what happens? The value of that stock starts to plummet because there's like fear. And you're like, well, if you're on the inside and you're selling off your position, what do you know that I don't know? Right. So overall, Vitalik, he's in a position where he doesn't want to have this position in these meme coins that on paper don't really have any value. And more importantly, you didn't make the relationship with him first for him to like truly see the vision so he can understand, okay, maybe this does have value. I want to hold on to these tokens. So, what are the big takeaways for you, the viewer? One, this is a real life example in real time of the concept of flight to value. So this is something that we see in like the traditional investing, like stock investing world, where investors will stop investing in more of the riskier or speculative type companies. So like your high growth tech companies that may have a volatile price point that fluctuate each day, right? And instead, they want to go for like the more blue chip, more valuable, stable type companies, so they can ensure a safe return. And Vitalik, he's doing the exact same thing when it comes to this, right? He's getting all these random meme coins or these random projects that he knows nothing about passed off to him in his wallet. And right now we're in a recessionary time where flight to value is happening. People are selling off their positions in like riskier stuff so they can have cash on hand, and even decide to invest in like safer assets. So if he's getting all these tokens that he doesn't know about, doesn't care about, doesn't see the value in, why not just liquidate all of them, take that bread and reinvest it in something like his own cryptocurrency, Ethereum, for example, or whatever else he wants, right? And so, for you, the viewer, it's always important to do your own research on these projects, and more importantly, understand how decentralized these projects are. So, for example, I'm not sure what the total supply of this token was, but let's say it was 700 trillion, for example, right? If you was able to do your research, and the beauty of this network is we can look at wallets, we can see like the amount of holdings, or try to get an idea of how decentralized or centralized a project may really be. If, let's say, for example, there was like only 700 trillion tokens and one guy had 500 of them, that's not decentralization at all. That's that's almost a monopoly, right? And so it allows you to better understand the risk of what happens when these bigger players decide to sell off their positions. Like what would that do to the value of your token that you're holding on to? Because as we saw here, he sold off 500 trillion units, and the whole project dropped by 44% in 25 minutes. So if he had a significant position in these tokens, that's going to hurt a lot, right? Imagine if you had $100 and then in 25 minutes it dropped down to um $56, just like that. And you didn't even do nothing. You didn't spend nothing. It just dropped in like in the duration of an anime episode or any TV episode. That gotta hurt. So you gotta make sure you do your own research, understand what's the true value behind these projects, and see how centralized these projects are. Are they truly decentralized, or do a small number of individuals hold the vast majority of these tokens? And that's the overall story for this day. Shout out to Vitalik. You gave a very
Yeah.
interesting case study for today.
And I mean, my question is, what happened to decentralization, man? What I thought decentralization was the name of the game, and then you just give all the tokens to one person. It's like, what did you expect to happen? I'm trying to
Right. It
figure it
really
out.
calls question. It really calls into question, like, when you say you want to democratize and add value to these communities, are you really, or are you just trying to inflate the value of your project? I'm not saying that it's bad one way or another. We just want to know, like, just be straight up with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, man, market news, market news. Any other thoughts on this topic?
Well, I think another big piece of it too is we've moved past. So it's very interesting to see how fast the Web3 like industry. I don't even know if you could really call it an industry because it's I mean it's really just connected to other industries, but just how fast things are moving when it comes to innovation. Like
Mm,
I feel like it's almost been like yearly bubbles in some sense where it was crypto and then DeFi and NFTs and NFT gaming and
mhm,
and it kind of feels like the list goes on and then that bubble pops, right? It was just such a crazy time up until, really early 2022 where, it seemed like there was no limit, right? There was no ceiling to the amount of money that was out there to be made, namely in the Web3 market, in the Web3 industry. And now we're seeing it all come to a head, right? We're seeing it all come to a stop here where, everything that may have been a good slash interesting investment
mhm,
2 years ago or a year ago is now, you know, probably not even. It's going to be an afterthought. It's not even going to be a thing in 2 to 3 months in itself, right? Or within another year. And so it really begs the question when you kind of see some of these things happening. You mentioned kind of like on the longer term, if you're looking at projects and evaluating it, like how you should be approaching that. Um, you should be approaching those actions that you're taking to kind of get involved. But another thing too is that you don't have to not get into it. But I think there is something to be said about understanding the risk and being timely in the actions that you take around your financial decisions, right? Like that's probably a coin that people shouldn't have just been holding, right? Like you probably should have sold that off 2 years ago at the
Mhm.
very least. Or maybe a year. I'll say that at the end of 2021, you should have gotten rid of that coin.
Mm.
Like in so many other coins as well, right? Um, which are pretty much there's some of those meme coins out there that are being held up by like the skin of their teeth, and is even the good ones, right? But so yeah, I think that's just another thing that comes to mind is you know, it's okay to play this game. We're about to go probably into tougher financial times, but there'll be another point in time where things come back around and money is being made, and it seems like the money supply is limitless. And when that time comes, if you're watching this, this is not financial advice,
Mm.
but I think it's okay to get involved. It's okay to go in and say, hey, people making money. I want to make money too. Go make your money, boo boo. Go make your money.
Just be
But
responsible.
and get out when it seemed too good to be true, that's when you need to be getting out. Right?
Mm.
When you like, man, I done made so much, like I'm gonna just keep going because I mean, what's gonna stop me? That's exactly when that thing is gonna pop up that's gonna stop you that you never thought of.
Mm.
Right? So, doing taking those traditional approaches help diversify. Making sure you're investing in other things that are not as risky, right? But does it hurt if you feel like you're making big returns and you take half of, let's say you got 250K, you get up to 500, take half of that out, put in some gold or something and just chill on it, go buy some art or something, just chill on it. Like
Mhm.
there's ways that you can kind of be creative. But anyway, I digress because I wanna get to my quick take for the day. I'll get to my quick take.
Do it
I'll get to my
quickly.
quick take. You ready for it? You ready for it?
We're all ready. Let's go.
Oh, get on the edge of your seats because, of course, we got to talk about Silvergate Capital and the announcement that they dropped on the Web3 world just this Wednesday. Yes, they announced that they will wind down their operations and liquidate its bank.
Whew.
What? Yes, yes, they're giving money back to the people. They're like, man, look, we can't keep messing around with y'all, but we going to bankruptcy and y'all take all our money for real. So Silvergate is one of the two main banks for the crypto industry, along with Signature Bank. And they have recently announced that they're, of course, like I just said, winding down their operations, liquidating their bank, and making sure that they are paying back deposits. Those deposits will be fully repaid, and according to their liquidation plan that they shared on Wednesday. And so Silvergate has just over 11 billion in assets, and we are seeing Silvergate say, you know what, wiping our hands, we're getting out of this game. Um, which 11 billion is a lot, but that is nothing in comparison to Signature Bank, which does have 114 billion dollars of assets. So we'll see what happens with Signature Bank, but for right now, Silvergate is having to step out of the game. So what led to the wind down? I'm sure that's the question we all have in our minds right now. Well, the company points to recent industry and regulatory developments that led to this liquidation. Again, what does that mean? Well, so the bank was already facing pressure from the Department of Justice and banking regulators such as the Federal Reserve and the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. But of course, the signs were already in the air. Companies like Coinbase and Galaxy Digital cut ties with the bank after they warned that they might not be able to remain in business. That happened about a week before this announcement. And pretty much once somebody says this, you know it's a done deal. You might as well go ahead and chalk it up because they about to either give you your money back or they not ever, ever giving your money back, right? And what was the main catalyst for this downfall and for them to kind of struggle? Yes, you guessed it. FTX, SBF. Oh my. Yes, namely, FTX used the bank to transfer customer funds. Yeah. If you followed our other episodes, you'll know they're in hot water. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely go check out episode 12 and episode 13 where we really got into FTX and what was happening. But they did use Silvergate to transfer customer funds. Big no. And so, with that fallout, the company really had been struggling for months now. So, in addition to laying off 40% of its workforce in January, the firm reported a nearly $1 billion net loss in the fourth quarter, following a rush for exits at the end of last year that saw customer deposits plummet 68% to $3.8 billion. And to cover the withdrawal, Silvergate even had to sell $5.2 billion of debt securities. So, no, we are not out of the clear yet and probably won't be for a while from the fallout of FTX and the reckless management that team did. And yes, to kind of sum up, the previous couple stories, we're seeing a lot of the dust starting to kick up. We are seeing dominoes beginning to fall. It is not only because of FTX. FTX has been the catalyst, but what it has catalyzed is the fact that regulators are paying attention. They're cracking down. People are taking their money out of these institutions if they're involved with crypto. Other institutions are not willing to get into the game, right? They may be exploring and they may have been looking into it, but best believe a lot of those, big institutions are putting that on pause because they need the dust to settle not only on the financial side, but also on the regulation side. And that is our quick take for today. Silvergate, you can kiss that goodbye.
Man, protect yourself
Yeah,
at all times.
man.
Protect
Yeah,
yourself at all times. You
yeah.
gotta, when you want to be in this space, you have to do your due diligence in terms of these projects, these
Yep,
institutions, the
yep.
people behind it, understand how centralized or decentralized it really is,
Mm-hmm.
understand what's really the intrinsic value, understand what's the business model that they're using, because if not, you're at risk at losing everything in this wild west that we know as Web3.
Yes, yes. And if you are in the Web3, I think right now the name of the game is survive. Survive until the regulation comes. Once the regulation comes, I think there'll be a lot more people that are willing to get back into it. I know we've ourselves have had conversations with different financial institutions where they're just like anything with NFT, crypto, Web3, we're not even touching it.
Right.
There was, a few months ago where and that's the crazy thing is like before the FTX fallout, you had that in your name that people were at least going to consider it, even if it wasn't in, you know, their wheelhouse. Instantly come on in, right? And now you're seeing the opposite effect. You're seeing adverse reactions, but I think that's more so because of not knowing what's going to happen from the regulation legal standpoint, which
Mhm.
is something that can easily tear down a business. Something that I think Silvergate was, no, I was saying was, but is experienced right now. One thing that I didn't mention in the actual quick take was that, you know, for a while, Silvergate was, looking to kind of get through and get past and really take that approach of surviving. But what happened, right? The little nuggets that you kind of have to find in the story is that initially, um, they said that they didn't have a big exposure to FTX, which technically they didn't really. Um, 11% of their total assets, I think it was less than 11% actually, or less than 10%. Their total assets were, from FTX. Um, but even with that, they had some relationship with them. And because of that, regulators said, hold up now. We need
Mm.
to take a deeper look in this relationship that y'all had with FTX and Alameda Research, what really was going on. And so I think the pressure from the governmental forces, there's obviously something deeper that we don't know, that they were like, you know what, let's just pay people back and keep it moving. But it seems right now, getting into Web3 can be hot water if you're already into it. You know, you gotta find ways to tread lightly until the sun starts to shine again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, man. It's it's very interesting for this episode because it's really a tale of two tales, right? On one end, we're seeing moves that are being done to increase user adoption and enhance user experience. On the other hand, we are seeing the real consequences that can happen from a market standpoint when it comes to how you can easily lose it all in terms of your crypto assets. If you're not
Yeah,
careful, like if you're invested in the wrong projects and a big player offloads all of it, or
yeah,
if you have your crypto assets in the wrong institution and that implodes, right? And something like a bank run happens, or they just can't simply give you back your capital. So it's very vital that you got to take the good news, you got to take the bad news, you got to really discern what's happening and really make your position in it all, and just be cautious. You can be optimistic, you can be ambitious and all that, but you got to be cautious and protect yourself. Defense first.
I feel that. Respect, respect. Maybe with all this everything that's going on, maybe this Web 5 thing might be real. Shout out to Jack. It might be real. I don't know. He might have been on to something.
I
So
mean,
let
hey,
us know.
yeah, we might have to. Yo, Jack, come on, block to block, man. We'd love to interview you.
Yeah, yeah. We just want to have a discussion. We just want to talk. That's it. We just
Right.
want to talk.
And we just talk.
Yeah, for a minute.
Oh,
I
boy.
wanna know what's
Ooh, get
the
it.
Wi-Fi.
We talk. We gotta bring back that challenge, the block to block edition.
Facts, facts. I don't know what that looks like or what that means, but yes, yes.
You get an NFT at the end to the winner. That's what we're gonna do.
Uh,
We're gonna.
hey, man,
I'm
you try to,
joking.
you try to, hey, man, you try to get us hemmed up by the U.S. government.
Just
Try to
kidding.
get
Shout out to
us.
Gary.
Shout out to Gary. GG. Shout out to the gangster GG. GG
Mm,
triple OG.
OG. We actually had fun fact. He actually taught a whole class about blockchain at MIT, so you can watch it on YouTube. It's
Crazy.
it's a crazy world, man.
Crazy world we live in. He's
It's
probably teaching it to SBF. That's the crazy part.
the next chapter in this saga, right?
Oh man.
But
Well,
with that, we
with
appreciate
that,
you guys as always. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your loved ones. If you're listening on audio, give us that 5-star review and share it out. It really helps out a lot. If you feel so inclined to support the podcast, you can do so as well via our link on Anchor. All of that can be found in the description below. And once again, thank you. 29 episodes. We're 29 weeks of this podcast, right? Straight weeks, no breaks, back to back with it.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that, I am Web3 Wayne.
And I'm NFT and Jai, and the talk is different. Peace.
Always. Y'all be easy.